Billy the Artist here, back with a how to draw video, and this one's going to be easy because we're doing Queen Barb from Trolls. As you can see here, we have from in the last month 2 of the videos that we've done the drawing lessons. We have Billie Eilish and we have Ariana Grande. Now again, these are a lot more complex, and do check out, but before we go any further, please do like and subscribe, tick the bell to be notified when new videos are out. And do check these out. These are in the How to Draw Portraits and in the How to Draw playlist as well. But How to Draw Portraits, this is using the basic techniques, but a little bit slower, so you can actually put these drawings together. Whereas a lot of my others in the How to Draw playlist, things like Boss Baby, Secret Life of Pets, and so many others, Toy Story, all kinds of stuff, using the shapes very, very simply and very quickly. But again, I'm going to show you how to, I use exactly the same techniques in these as I do in these, but I just teach you how to lay the drawing down. Again, using these grids. Check out these videos, link in the cards and the descriptions to the playlists. Check them out and enjoy them. The Ariana Grande one I have put up as well, not only in the full, it's 4.5 hours. So this one's about 3 hours, I think. This was 4.5 hours. Showed you all the techniques, being very, very smooth with the shading. But I had to put it up in 4 parts as well, because some people need the subtitles. So that's why this is up in multiple parts, as well as the full length video, just for people who need it translating into their language, because YouTube do translate automatically for people. So that is amazing and so helpful. So that's very, very good. But do check them out. Do like and subscribe. Check out the playlist. Not only did we do these, we also did some Harry Potter ones. There was Snape, Draco, the old Dumbledore, and the Sorting Hat. And then we also did the 5 SAS Who Dares Wins DS directing staff. So do check them out. They're in the portraits, the whole lot. Over 120 odd videos, lessons in the How to Draw playlist. But we're going to get on and we're going to have fun and we're going to do it quickly, not as long as these. Anyway, I hope you're having fun with your drawing, because I certainly am. Now, I have here this very, very simple grid setup. Check out the link in the banner for all of the dimensions for this, because this is an A4 piece of paper, 210mm by 297, and this is the center line exactly, so that's 105mm. All the actual markings for all of these lines are in this banner. I'm going to use this to then lay down the shapes, but in the more complex portraits I use a 2cm grid, again starting off from this central line. If you check the link in the cards and the descriptions, you will see me lay down these grids, why I use them. It's only a short video, 20 odd minutes long, and you'll actually see me laying down the grids to actually help you. I draw these lines on darker so that you can see them. You don't need them that dark, but I do this so that I can help you. If you also check out How to Draw Anything Part 1, you will see the basic shapes that we are going to use. And we're going to do Queen Barb very, very quickly. So now we are going to start the drawing of the rock chick. So here we go. And we're going to start off, and you can see she pretty much fills the page completely. But it doesn't matter where you start. I'm just going to use very, very simple shapes. So you can kind of see her nose is a triangle. So I'm just putting in a little triangle there. Then her top lip actually comes to there. And it goes about halfway. So the top lip is another triangle. Then we want a nice curve shape. It kind of looks like a purse now. So we've got the triangle flap at the top, or an envelope with curved corners. And then a bottom lip curves around and up. And then her teeth that are inside. So we've got a triangle there. We've got a nice kind of simple shape. In fact, we need to shorten that triangle and the side of her mouth. And then I'm just going to put a little I mean, you could put a rectangle in, but just putting a little shape in there for that tooth. Then we want a rectangle for that top tooth, and then a kind of rectangle up in that corner. Now again, we can just indicate where these teeth are quickly, but again, I'm just using very quick, simple shapes. Now we can see that a head is going to come within, I'm just going to draw a box. So you can see completely, there's a box, across to where the chin's going to be. And then within inside that box, we can just draw kind of round shape. And that's going to be the top of a head. Now, here, in this little section here, we have another rectangle for her ears. Now, her ears, her left ear. Now, I just want a nice, quick, simple circle, and I'm doing this really quickly, off the side of her head. And that's just kind of going up past halfway. We've got another little triangle, that's her right ear. And then we've got this fantastic Mohican. And you can see, just using these lines, you can see where you've got reference points. And it's just a nice curve going over. Now at the back here, so I'm just drawing a little rectangle. That's where the hair is there. And you can see how, I mean, here you've got a V. You've just got a V in between the top of those. And really, that looks like an M now. You've just got a capital M that's going to go all the way up. And we can indicate some more hair. Another point for the hair. Another triangle for the top of the hair. There's another triangle. And we've got a little one sticking out there. Now here at the back, just got another rectangle and a triangle. Now we'll detail that up in a bit. Now her eyes, I'm just gonna, that's a bit, well, you've got a semicircle with slightly rounded corners. Now her eye goes to about halfway, and coming up from the top of the nose, so there's the semicircle, and we want, you've got a circle for an iris and then a pupil in the centre. Now the highlight is just another circle. I'm just drawing, indicating it, and I'm just going to leave it there. Then, in fact, I'm now going to draw, you've just got an upside down V there. So that's a thin triangle, that's her eyebrow, and that goes off. And you can see, like we did in Ariana Grande, her makeup coming off from her eye forms this shape here. Now we need to lower that semicircle for her actual eyeball inside, and then a bit like a kind of rainbow arc, you've got that darker one over the top, and then we're actually going to have, she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 eyelashes. Now coming off the top of her nose, in fact underneath the nose, we've got another triangle there, that's a left nostril, another triangle there, that's a right nostril. Now here I'm now going to draw another rectangle, and that's going to contain her right eye. Now it's not like, this one's a bit more like a semicircle shape, whereas this one is slightly more, well, it's a bit kind of squashed egg shape is probably the best way to describe it, but still, anyway, but I've just to help, so we've got her eyebrow coming down here, and we know that the point of this one is going to be here, so I'm just drawing a little V there, and that's where her eyebrow then comes down, and it just helps. So now coming off the top of her eye, where we put that rectangle, we can put a little triangle at the top. We've got, and you can see it comes past about halfway where her cheek is, so we can put a little triangle there, And you can see that the top of her eye is lower, so you've got this diagonal here. So we need, and you can see it's above the nostril, so we can actually bring the correct shape of that eye. Now, right on the top of her tip of her nose, again coming down diagonally in line with her other eye, we've got that nice circle for her right iris and pupil. So there you can see we've just got some very, very quick, simple shapes. And again, that's just how easy it is. Now down in this section here, I'm going to put a rectangle. That's going to be a hand. Now an arm coming up, and we've got a little triangle there, that's a shoulder. But then you've got a rectangle that comes down, just a nice simple rectangle line, but that's going to be a tube. So at the end, I'm drawing right the way round, just a couple of ellipses, and that's a leather band, wristband. An ellipse on the top, another one there, another one there, and they are the metal studs on an actual wristband. So now we've got her body. The guitar that you can see is inside this quadrant, this little rectangle here, and we're going to come down, but overall it's just a giant triangle, and then the spikes on it are just not triangles again. So we can see this one comes down and it's just above the halfway line. The bottom one is lower down underneath the kind of halfway point in this quadrant. And so here we now have another triangle on the side. The bottom part of it is horizontal, and then there you see the tip of that going behind the back, and then the flames inside. Again, same thing, just triangle, another triangle, got a little kind of rectangle there. This is like kind of molten lava volcano guitar. Now a hand, I'm going to draw an actual box on, and then we can put a little fingers in. You got the top of the guitar, a right hand here, so we've got another, just a rectangle, simple rectangle there. You've got a top finger, triangle for the second finger, and then a little finger is just a tiny little rectangle. And then the fretboard, you can see, goes right through that center point, comes down. So we've got, there's a long rectangle, and that's just the fretboard. And then we want a triangle at the top, and you can see it kind of matches the tip of her ear. And it needs to come up from the center of the fretboard. And then we've got 1, 2, 3 triangles there for the tuning pegs on the guitar, and then we've got another 1, 2, 3. Again, I'm doing this all with my trusty 2B pencil. Didn't say that at the start. Missed that one. Never mind. Anyway, also use the hashtag Drawing with Billy. It is up in the corner of the screen, and there will have been a bouncing one at the beginning of the video. So again, just coming down the headstock of the guitar, we've got 1, 2, 3 little ellipses, and then you've got another 1, 2, 3 little ellipses. Again, just the center parts are black. And then we've actually got the frets themselves. Little rectangles. So there's 1, 2, 3. Then we're kind of coming down, we've got 4, and these get a little bit closer. The one on the little finger, 5. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more coming down to the headstock, where the neck of the guitar joins the body of the guitar. And that's kind of gonna be the 5th. And so we just need to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little rectangles all the way down. And we've got the body, you've got a little bit of a hand, we've got a little triangle there, and that's a right wristband, little semicircle, there's the wrist, and we can just curve the hand off. And you can see there from the top finger coming round, it's a very simple little C shape. So here we've got a lot in, we've just got the legs to go. So we've got, it's not quite a rectangle because it's wider at the bottom, going up to where a knee is, well past the knees. I mean, do these trolls actually have knees? They're just like bendy legs, aren't they? It's amazing. So I'm just drawing it's a parallelogram, not even a parallelogram, but it's a rectangle that's thinner at one end and thicker at the other. So I'm now just drawing a rectangle here for a right leg, and then the same for the right foot, and then the left foot. So now there, very quickly, we've got the full drawing and shape down of Queen Barb. Now again, her and King Thrash in the Trolls World Tour are trying to take over and make rock everything, and Poppy and Branch have to save the world for pop music. But anyway, this is just a fun thing that we can actually draw. So I'm sharpening my pencil again, just getting a little bit of a sharper tip. I'm going to come in so as I don't smudge all of this preparatory drawing that we've actually done, and we can just build the detail up. And we're going to put the outline in now very, very quickly. And we're going to start with Queen Barb's eyes. Again, you can see here we've got these construction lines in. And we've got the nose, or we're going to start with the nose and her eyes. The nose is quite a nice directional point that we can actually start. Again, I'm drawing this line quite dark. So we've got the triangle, and I'm drawing it out, and it comes down and joins the edge of her nose, does, with where her cheek is. And then it curves around to this little triangle right on the centre line with the nostril. Now, on this side, it's in line with just the edge of a nostril is with the iris in Barb's eye. So anyway, that curves, and we can curve that around. We've got the central part of a nose, little curve underneath, and we can flick up the nostril, and the same with that shape there. And you can see that's a bit like an M. You've got 3 parts of an M. If you haven't got the little V at the top, but you just break it down into shapes. Now, coming off the side of a nostril, let's get a top lip in. We can see that we've got where the edge of her eye is, it's on about the centre line. So the edge of her mouth is going to be right there. Now we've got the tip of her upper lip, which is just above the centre line. So we can curve that up just slightly. It's not a straight line. Now, the edge of her upper lip goes up, and it kind of goes to about the halfway point. So there's the curve of a crease line coming off from a nostril, and that goes out and just goes past a little bit. Now we can bring the upper lip all the way down to join the point of her upper mouth. And then we've got a dark lipstick just above, so we can colour that in. And there you can see we've just starting to get a focal point. Really need to sharpen that a little bit more. Now, her left eye, we've got, you can see it's within the top kind of third of the nose. So we come over and we can curve it up towards the centre line. And then we can curve the actual eyeball over. I'm just following the shape. We've got this kind of nice semicircle. If you imagine it, it's like a D, so there's the back of the D, and then you've got the curve going over. But the actual D isn't flat. So here, coming off here, we've got a little bit of a curve around, and then it comes up, and then just curves slightly. I'm doing these lines very thick because she has got thick black eyeliner on, and we'll accentuate that very shortly. And then you want to curve it right into that corner. Now, we've got the circle in for her eyeball and her iris, and it's about halfway, so we can put the top there, because you know the top from there to there is the white of her eye, though it's actually kind of pink. And if you want to colour this in with pencil crayons, you certainly can. So now I'm curving, drawing this kind of circle shape, but you can't see the bottom bit because her lower eyelid is over it. Now we've got that lovely large pupil. And then kind of on the 3/4 point, that would be kind of 10 o'clock-ish, between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock on an analog watch. We've got the highlight. Now, I'm filling that in quickly, just so as you've got something to actually focus on. And there you can see Queen Barb already starting to look back at you. So anyway, now we want to do her eyebrow. And we've got this lovely point. And you can see the point, again, comes up. We've got the construction lines in. The point is up off, behind, kind of in line with the edge of her left eye. So now we're going to curve down, it comes to the centre line. So you've got the point going to the tip of her eyebrow. And then it kind of curves down to this point here. Again, you can imagine you can draw up connection lines. And then you want the thicker part coming down to the tip, and then curve it down to the point on that centre line. And then you can see I'm using the side of the pencil. I'm just indicating where all of that makeup line is going to go to. And the dark comes down, comes over the centre line. And there's a little point back up there. And then it comes off at the bottom and then curves up underneath the lower eyelid. And there, that's looking pretty good already. So now we need to do the same. We've got this slightly strange shape. So you can see how coming over to the tip of her mouth and the eye comes to the centre part. So we can curve this down to meet her nose. Yeah, third. Just bring the nose out a little bit more. And we can curve that line down and round. Off the tip of a nose, we need to bring the eye curve up. Then you get that top of that kind of egg shape, and it curves down and joins at the edge. Now, again, we've got the construction line in for her right eyeball and iris. And you've got the highlight showing, and then the wide pupil, and that's inside the corner of her eye there. Now we've got the side of her head, and the shape comes up, and we'll actually use her right eyebrow as the reference point. So we can curve down where it goes around the side of her eye socket, and then you've got that tip that just curves up and then comes back down. There you go, that's looking pretty good. Now we can actually put the curve shape of the makeup like we have here. We can just indicate that shape inside. And there's quite a few eyelashes on there, and we've got more that we'll add round here in a moment. But we want the side of a head that curves down, and then a cheek comes out, say to about third point, and then curves, comes under the centre line. And we want the top of a head going up to behind the back of a Mohican, where she's got that little triangle slither of buzz cut hair. And then her ear, her right ear, this little triangle, but it's got a rounded top, comes off and then comes back down, joins the side of her head. I noticed that just didn't fill in the iris, so I'm just quickly filling in some colour on that, only in that, just so as the eyes are kind of locked in. Now we need to finish off drawing. Again, we just covering what we started off, because we put these little construction lines in, and so you can see, because the mouth isn't so far over, we can actually bring back the mouth here. The tooth was just too far over, so I've just corrected the line a little bit. And this is the thing with when you do your construction lines, just going to sharpen the pencil. I love that electric sharpener. When you're doing your construction lines, they're there to actually help you get your drawing down quicker, and then you can build up the detail on top. So I'm now bringing the shape of a mouth around, and here we've got the tooth, and then we've got the second tooth comes around, and you can see it comes up about there underneath the right hand side of a nostril. And then we've got this little tooth that comes over the bottom lip, just a U shape. So I'm going to draw the edge of her mouth down and curve that up. You see that kind of cuts through in the middle of her eye, so I just need to pull that up a little bit more. And then that curves, and you can imagine that curves up, and if it carried on, it would join the edge of her eye. And then we've got the thin black lipstick. And that curves all the way up. Now we've got this V for a sharp tooth. It's a bit like a guitar pick. And then we want a nice kind of U shape. You can see how using the reference point of her eye above, you can bring that shape down and then curve it across. And then that goes up there. Again, the same with the one that goes into the shadow. And then we've got this tooth. And the edge just comes underneath the centre line. And then we can just add slightly, and I'm doing these lines very, very dark. You don't have to do these lines as dark as I am, but I'm doing them so that you can actually see the drawing appear relatively quickly. Now we've got a chin here, and you can see how the line comes up. We did that rectangle at first, but the line actually comes up through this corner point there. And so I'm now going to curve the bottom of a cheek, curving round to join the bottom of a chin, and then curving it round to join the right hand cheek. And then this line curves up. Now I'm going to use the inside of my wrist to actually create the curve. And it goes right through that cross point, and that's why using the grids really helps. Now the edge of a cheek, you can see, comes out and curves about there. And then we've got this lovely shape that curves up, cuts through, and this is like the front of a buzz haircut that many people are doing at this current time during the lockdown. Getting the clippers out and just shaving their head. Now that curves up over, and it comes right the way down to the front of a Mohican, and it comes over the centre line, and there's the front. Now you've got a bit of a crescent shape now, and that's what curves around the back, comes round behind where her ear is, and that's the kind of shaved head bit going to the back of her head. Now I'm resting my hand on top of my left hand on top of my right hand, just to stop me from smudging on the paper. Now we've got this rectangle that we put in for her left ear. Now we've got a U shape. It's just a nice simple U. And then the side of her ear, that curves up. You've got this point, and you can see where that point comes to. About here. So draw a line over it, and that's where you want the top of your point. And then her ear comes down, so you've got that nice simple diagonal shape. And then the bottom of her ear, you can see is already level with the bottom of her nose, so we're just checking to make sure that's okay. And then you want a nice simple curve, because the little part of her ear that enters the ear canal is a simple little triangle. You've got a little triangle shape there, but then we can just curve it to join the top. Now this curve that comes round the back up to her ear on the corner, and then you've got a diagonal line up there, and you've got a little peak as it goes up. So you go up, little peak, curves up, and then there's a little peak behind it as well. Now here we've got a simple C shape. But then we've got her earring. Now her earring curves, and we've got this kind of circle that we've already put in. Just need to go a little bit higher. And then we've got the curve underneath, and we can follow the shape down and do another circle inside. There you have Barb's earring. Now we need to accentuate the diagonal on her ear coming off the side. That's better. And we can fill all of this in a little bit. Then you've got the back of her head. Now, just go wild. It's a Mohican. Queen Barb just lets it all go completely bonkers. It's on fire. But we've got these basic shapes in already. So I'm just drawing and looking, and you can see where the points are. And we've got the hair coming up there, and I'm just woggling it because it's, you know, it's hair. And because it's hair, you draw in the same direction that the hair is. It's obviously not brushed like Ariana Grande's and straightened. It's just up there in a full-on rock Mohican style. But still, draw, and here you've got a V. But draw in the direction that you can see there's a V there at the top. And you've got other bits going around it. But we've got these initial shapes, these little rectangles and triangles, and they help. But you can see I'm just using the side of the pencil, but just being a little bit freeform. Got a little triangle there, just woggling it up, and this replicates the effect of a Mohican. There's another one. We've got another little triangle. Then we've got, it flicks there, just curves out. And then here behind her left ear, you've got a little triangle there. And a few little bits that flick down. Now, within her hair, we've got this darker shadow at the bottom. And that curves up. And there you've got Barb's head. In place, the outline down quite quickly. Again, I'm just sharpening my pencil. Now we've got her right hand, and because we've got the construction lines in, it all helps. But I'm going to start with her bracelet. We've got that shape, that cylinder shape that we put in. Replicating the edge. Now coming over the top, we've got it coming around the back, just following the same shape and direction. Then we've got the metal studs. Larger metal stud on the top. Then you've got one here, and then a smaller ellipse on the edge where that comes and curves down. Now Barb's arm, you see here at the top, coming right underneath the chin, we've got this V shape. Now you can see how the top of the shoulder of that V is just inside that tooth, so that's where the top of the shoulder is. So I'm bringing it down, and then her arm curves to where a kind of elbow would be. Then you curve and bring the line down. The top of her arm comes out through the centre line. You've got a little triangle there, and it just curves down a little bit, goes towards her wrist. And that's how simple you're using the reference points to help plot everything. Now, her hand is all nice and curved, but we put this little box in first. Now, because we put these little rectangle lines in, it's going to help us actually draw the fingers in. So I'm going to start with the, in fact I'm just going to draw from the outside. You've got the curve of the bracelet, so you follow that line out because her arm comes under and it's got to come out. You can see how it matches there, and I'm looking where the reference lines are that I've put in, and it curves, and then you want a little curve for the knuckle, and then the finger comes out a little bit and then curves right round and underneath. You can see you've just got that nice U shape. Now again, the next finger curves down and you've got a U at the bottom, and then the final third finger curves and you've got a U again. You've got a little crease, and then it just curves, the hand curves up, and there you've got Barb's left hand drawn in nice and quickly. Now the guitar, we've got the edge of the guitar comes up, and again, just like the arm, it needs to connect. So that comes out, following the construction lines, it just curves to that little point. Then it kind of comes over fairly flat, and then we want this point that comes down here, and then we just curve that kind of tooth point up. It's like carved granite, isn't it? And then we want this one that comes down, and you can see the edge of the body of the guitar comes up to the middle of the first finger, and so where that comes out above, that curves up, and you can see how if you follow the shape around, it will come around and join that line. And that's how simple it is. You just putting the shapes in and making it work. Now we've got the larvae, so I've got the construction line in, and I just curve it, comes up, little point, curves up to the middle, just underneath the middle of this construction line, this horizontal across. So I'm just curving that up over, and it comes down a little bit, not as far down as the construction line is, to a little V, and then that curves up, goes up, and that's that larva point. Now this one comes off, and then we've got that little V that comes across the center line and goes up. Now you're going to replicate those lines inside, so you've got the where the orange lava flow actually would be. Now that goes up, and we just want to follow the lines inside. There you got Queen Barb's guitar. Again, we're going to come over, I'm going to do her right hand now, but I'm going to start again with the bracelet. And that just curves around. You can see it just goes over a little bit, so we can adjust the neck of the guitar. And we've got the stud right on the line, and then the edge comes down, goes up behind the back of the guitar, and then we want that second stud. Now her right hand, from the second finger, you can see if we start there and curve that up, we've just got this C shape that comes down. There's the back of a capital C. That's how easy it is, just using shapes. Now here we've got this rectangle for the little finger, so I'm just following the line up, and at the end you just curve it around and you bring it back a little bit, and it just comes over the center line, and that's where the guitar is. And just put a little curve on the end. Now, the first finger, you can see, is just underneath the horizontal centre line. It's just a nice rounded shape. Now follow the guitar up, and you can see how it comes through the top of the first finger. So you've got that line coming up, and that's where the edge of the guitar needs to be. And we've already got the point on that cross. Just sharpening my pencil. And I'm going to, I mean, it's a bit, you know, it's not perfectly straight, which it should be for a fretboard, but that's because of the frets. It makes it look a bit wobbly. So I've drawn the fretboard line all the way down. Then we can put in the little larva cracks, and now we can put the frets in, and the nut, this line at the top of a guitar neck, between the neck and the headstock, it's called a nut. So I'm putting the rectangle in for that nut, and then we've got the frets. So there's 1 fret, 2 frets, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, the actual shape of the headstock, we've got that triangle in, and we can detail that up in a moment, but we're going to get Barb's shirt in. So here, we can come up off the guitar, we've got the body shape. So I'm just curving it a little bit, and then you can see where her arm is. You've got a little line there, which is her arm coming down to here. Then we've got a kind of oval shape, which is a bit like a mouth, and that's the rip in the shirt first. Then we've got a little bit of a kind of ripped collar pointing down, and then a couple of little rip marks at the front of a shirt. Now here we want a V, and then we want another little V, and then the line comes up, and we've got the back of a shirt coming off, and then we've got what looks like a bit of a belt, and then the top of her hips. We've got 1, 2, 3 little wiggly shapes there. And so we've now got the top part of Barb all done, and we've nearly got the outline down. Now again, it seems quite complex, but just using, excuse me, just getting a sip of water, just using simple shapes, you break it down and you get a full drawing outline down, and that's looking really good. And like I say, we've just got the top of the headstock and the legs to do, and the legs we're going to push, the construction lines need to go a little bit further over. But this is all part of the joy of drawing, and drawing quickly and just having fun. So now we have the tip of the guitar here. We also have, it doesn't come down to this triangle, we've got 2 curves up that go in that direction, and it'll help us to actually put the shape in. So very simply, there's the nice curve. It's just a bit like a tooth, and if you repeat that on this side, and then draw the shape of the headstock in, it helps to place everything. Now again, these tuning pegs, they're in the right kind of place. So there's that one, and you put the triangles in. There's another triangle, and then another triangle for the tuning peg there, and then that gold one there. Now these ones were a little bit too far separated out, so we can just push that one up a little bit, the positioning, and the same for this one. Now, right at the top, we've got that little semicircle with a dot in the centre. Then below this tuning peg, we want that one, then this one, and then finally the third one there. Now, on this side, we can put that one in, and we can just move that one up a little bit. And then you've got a kind of raised bit of embellishment. And that's your tuning pegs in on your guitar. Now, each of the tuning pegs tune the strings. So you've got 6 tuning pegs, there's 6 strings on the guitar. So the first string is this line, and that goes up to that tuning peg there. And then you know that you're going to have 5 more. So there's the one that's going to go to there. So when it goes through the nut, it does go off at an angle. So now you know you've got the 4 in between. And you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, equally spaced, and you've got the right positioning. So you can bring down your strings. Now again, these would be red strings. And when you go through the hands, you need to know and make it, draw the line if you have to, so that they look correct. Just going to sharpen my pencil. And they need to be equally spaced. And then here's the 6th string. And then you need to just draw the relevant ones to the actual tuning peg points. That one goes there, this one goes right up to the back, and that one goes there. And there you've got all the guitar in. Now we've got Barb's feet and legs. Now you can see this one, I need it further over. So the front of her foot comes to about there, the back of her heel goes there, and then we can actually connect the leg up. Now again, this side, we got this one indicated in the right kind of place. Now we've got a little rectangle for those 3 toes, a little rectangle for the front toe, and that's going to curve up over, and we can draw a line for what are essentially fishnet trousers. That's about the only, well, not fishnet, more like shark net. They are quite wide holes. Now, because we've put these little lines in, you can see these construction lines, you can see we've got to have a little toe there, and then the heel comes off. So I've got 3 little toes there, and then you've got the big toe. I'm going to start with the big toe. So I'm just curving that around, and then you've got the 2nd toe, and then the 3rd toe, the 4th toe, and then the foot, it just curves out, and you can see it comes through that construction line, the guide line, and then the heel curves around back, and we've got the construction line that comes all the way up, and you've got to imagine that's going to go up to a hip, and it just curves. So I'm following that shape all the way up. Now the top of her foot comes up, and then you got the bottom of her trousers, not much of her trousers there, fishnet things, and then you can see how the angle follows your construction lines, goes through the guidelines and goes up. Now I'm going to do the same for this side. So we've got the nice oval shape for the big toe, and then we want a similar kind of shape for the 2nd toe, 3rd, and then the little toe is on the edge. Foot just curves up to where you've got the kind of crease that comes down, and then you've got the side of a foot going up to a heel. Now the leg goes up and you can see that it comes down. You've got that line coming down from the guitar, and you can see from the molten lava where that comes down. Now the actual right side of a leg goes through this cross point. Now we've got everything bar a fishnet tight line things, trousers in. And we'll do those in a second. So now we're going to put these fishnet trousers in on Barb. Now the thing is we've got these reference points, and this will really help you, and you're going to do a dot to dot. So we can see one here right on the horizontal line, and you can see that that is going to go up and it joins up there at the top. Now we can see we've got the next one is going to be further down. It's just a case of figuring out where. So from this part here, it's going to come down to the front of a shin, but there's a cross point again, you can see just off from the guitar. So I'm putting a dot there, and then that's going to go over right to her ankle here. And then we've got this line coming over a foot that we've already got put in. And so what we're going to do now is we're just going to follow the shape. So a leg curves around. And you can see how the trousers are outside a leg a little bit, the trousers, the rope line. So that's going to curve around, and it comes down, just kind of woggles because it's rope, and then curves around the back. And then we've got another one. So you've got like a little kind of X there. And we need the line to just come up. And I'm using the flat side of the pencil. Still using the 2B. And then from this point, we need to curve down. I'm just going past a little bit where that mark was. You just need, because it's got to curve around the leg. And then curve around the front, and then above we've got the second line. You've got to imagine that that's going to come down and join here, but it stops because it's broken. Now we've got around the back of a leg that curves, comes up, and then curves up there. Then you've got another little bit that comes out, and then finally for that top part we can bring that up there, and then we've got the cross that comes down. Now here we've got another line that comes down. So we're going to follow the curve down, and then we want another one here. And then from this corner, that's going to come up. And that's going to cross over and come up here. And then curve there, and you're just following the points, your reference points, and you're able to put in what seemed to be quite a complex pair of trousers that aren't actually there. Now we're going to do the same on this side now. And you can see through the construction lines, through the grid lines, you've got a C shape there. And that comes all the way down to there, just a nice curve like a crescent. And that's your basic starting point. So I'm going to draw that in very, very dark very quickly. And that comes down and goes off the edge of the leg there. And then inside, from right where the finger joins the guitar, you can see the next one. And then the third line, that curves and comes down to where her heel is. Fourth one, curves around, comes to the top where the fold is, and then you can see how it just follows the form of a foot. Now, this last bottom part, it just kicks off at the edge and then curves up and goes around above there. Now, here we want, that's where that one goes, and then we want, this one is pretty horizontal, but that curves around and then just curve it over the edge of a leg where that goes there. And you got one right on the line. And now I'm just going to detail the edge of a foot up a little bit more. And there you've got a complete outline down of Queen Barb. That's looking pretty good. Oh, in fact, it's so good, I've actually pulled it off the actual masking tape bits. And that was just the strength of the pencil pushing it. So let's put Barb back in place so that we can now rub out the construction lines. So I'm now just using my Mars plastic putty rubber, because these are quite wide spaced out lines. On some of the portraits you see me using different ones, and I will use the Mars plastic pen one in a second for these bits here. I'm just able to pull all of those lines out relatively quickly. Now I'm going to use this one just because I can get a little bit better kind of detail erasing without obliterating loads of my drawing. That's out from in between all the bits in the Mohican, and then there's a little bit in the nostril. Again, all these little bits. I'm removing the construction lines from inside what would be the whites, or in Barb's case the pinks of her eyes. The construction lines from inside her teeth. That one on the bottom of her chin. Again, these ones around the side of her cheek. Inside that arm. And the guitar, and then down in the leg, even in between the gaps in the fishnet trousers or shark net trousers. Construction lines in the hand, I'm just erasing those just so as we've got a relatively clean image that we can then shade in, and the shading will be quick. This will be fun. That guideline from inside a leg, guideline inside the guitar. Now, I've done a lot of rubbing out quickly. I'm just brushing all the bits of rubber off to see if there's any bits that I've missed. And I'm brushing it onto the piece of paper that I was resting my hand on, rather than just brushing it on the floor, just to be a bit neater. Anyway, that's now Queen Barb looking pretty good, ready to just be shaded in. And from that outline you could even colour it in with coloured pencils or felt tips if you want, but I'm going to just use the trusty 2B pencil, and that's next. So now we are going to shade in our troll, Queen Barb. So I'm just going to use the 2B pencil. I'm using this pencil extender. I've got a small one. This is the last time we'll use this, and then this one will end up going in. Just so as that, because it's getting so small, I can still use this as it is, but the pencil extenders allow you to have more use of your pencil. Now, we're going to fill this in really quickly. I'm still using the 2B pencil and just filling in very quickly. Now, we've got this kind of general tone all over Queen Barb's skin. So I'm just filling in using the flat of the pencil very quickly, filling in all the shapes of a face and down a cheek and down underneath a chin. And then we've obviously, I've missed the neck. Hang on a second. I'll put that in at the end. So now I'm filling in her arm and her hand. Now, just filling in these general tones is giving you an overall amount to work with, and because there's no solid highlight, there's no really bright white highlight, we can safely fill all of this in nice and quickly. And it doesn't matter if you kind of go over the lines, because we're just doing this as a quick fun sketch. And there we go, we've got most of that in. Now again, her eyes and her eyeballs, I'm filling in using the flat again, but it's a little bit lighter and a little bit brighter. So I'm not pressing on as hard as I did with the skin. Same with the teeth. And then we've got the shirt. That should be a bit lighter. So she's got this white shirt on. And then we've got the hair. So I'm still using the flat of the pencil to fill in the tone quickly, but I'm actually going in the direction of the spikes of Queen Barb's Mohican. And again, it's just simple hair techniques. Do the lines in the direction of the hair, and that makes it look more realistic. Though Mohicans are obviously not general realistic for most people every day, especially red-haired Mohicans on a troll with a buzz cut over the rest of her hair. But it's good fun. So now, again, even the guitar, there's no direct white highlights. So I'm just going to fill the whole lot in with tone. Down the fretboard, may as well just fill in the wrist as well, the wristbands, just so as you've got complete tone and it just doesn't matter. Same on the guitar body. So we've just filled that in very, very quickly. Now you can just carry on sketching and building up layers, but I like just smoothing a little bit very quickly. So I'm getting this kitchen roll. I'm doing the lighter parts, especially around Queen Barb's eyes and her teeth, just doing those first. But then even the earring, I didn't even put any pencil in the earring, but I've just used the pencil that I've picked up on this kitchen roll. And you can see I'm just doing this very quickly. I'm going in the same direction of the hair, fuzzing that up out to the tops of the spikes. And even though I'm obviously going over the lines, we can just pull that back in using the putty rubber in a little bit. Now, on all of her face, the skin coming down in between her eyes, and then a top lip. Again, that's getting quite dark now, because I can tell as I'm smudging, I'm actually pushing darker tone around. Top of her nose, then her arm, hand, over the guitar body, up the hand. And like I say, I'm just doing the whole lot. Down the leg, and then a right leg. So there you can see I've just completely smoothed out all of Queen Barb's, the shading that we just put in, that kind of first quick tone layer. Now this is my old, that's a newer putty rubber, and you can see it's a lot cleaner. That's an old one. Now an old one, when it gets filled with pencil, can leave dark streaks on. So I'm just coming where I really smudged quickly off the top of the Mohican. I'm just pinching the rubber again, just getting a slightly sharper point, and just pulling off where I'd gone over. And you can see now, because I've just rubbed out some of those hairlines, the hair now looks much more fluffy around the top. I've just pulled it to a very fine point, and I'm just putting some little lines in right at the top. Now I'm coming in and I'm just getting a clean piece of the, well, pulling the point to the rubber to a point, and I'm cleaning off the highlights in Queen Barb's eye, because they are the whitest points on there. Now, because this is the slightly more dirty one, I'm just now pulling it to not a point but a kind of nice rounded edge, and I'm just dabbing where the highlights are, and it's just pulling off a little bit. Top of the ear, top of her head, just curving down there, top of her left cheek, just pulling it up now into a longer shape, just so as you can actually see this a bit clearer. So you can see there now, just dabbing on her top lip, because you've got a little bit of a light, the shadow coming off her nose coming across here. So there's a little bit of a highlight there. Top of her left cheek, side of her mouth, top of her left arm, top of her left hand, and then the tops of the fingers on her right hand, and even just the top of the guitar and the tuning pegs, just dabbing that on. Then I'm just going over each of the frets, pulling the highlight out on there, and then you've got the molten lava bits inside the actual guitar body. So I'm just pulling up a little bit of highlight there, Same on the top of the spikes on the bottom of a rock guitar. Then the top of the feet and the toes. And you can see I'm just really doing this quickly. And the top of that earring. Top of the point on the ear. Then going down the back. And so we've just got, you can see just nice little highlights actually building up on Barb. And so now we're going to quickly fill in the shading. So this is where she's got the kind of buzz cut of her hair going down the back of her head. Again, I have no idea if you can actually hear the background noise, but somebody's just gone razzing around on a motorcycle. So here we go. You might hear that one. That's a very deep exhaust tone. Now we want the shade of her ear. We've got this kind of nice curve on her ear. And then the curve of her face. So we just want to increase the shadow inside her ear a little bit, then underneath. And then we come up on her head, and there's a little bit of tone coming up the side of her head that comes right the way down. And there's a slight little reflected highlight on her cheek there. But now you can see we've got this curve and shape of a cheek. So that's the top of the shadow that comes down, and we've got a really deep shadow right in the corner of her mouth. And then it's like a capital D. So you imagine you've got the bar there on the back of a D, and you've got a big thick part of a D shape. So you've got one D there, and then extend it and go further over, and then just fill all of that in. And I'm just filling the tone in, coming down. And now you can see that tonal shape. It's like the front of an italicized D. But we're just going to carry that down. It goes right down to a chin. And then we need to just build a little bit of the tone. And we can feather that in a moment. So now we've got to really build the tone up of her eye. Now when we did Ariana Grande, that's in the portraits playlist, and we did her eyes, and we got on to doing the flesh. I mean, that's a 4.5 hour lesson. I have actually put it up in 4 individual parts and split it into sections, because some people need subtitles, and YouTube auto generates the subtitles. But if your video is too long, it won't do it. And I've kind of found that 4 hours is about the limit for the subtitles, which is why I've put that up in individual parts as well. But when I was doing the eyeshadow like this, just very, very carefully. I mean, obviously I'm doing this very quickly on this one, but I was just doing exactly the same, filling the shape in, and then you feather it. Now, I did actually use a brush for the very, very soft tones, as if it was a makeup brush. Now, you can use your finger, you can just carry on building up the tone with a pencil, like you can see I'm doing here. I'm now in the corner of a mouth, going into a cheek. Or you can use a cotton bud. I think we'll be doing a cotton bud on this one with Queen Barb. So now I've got the shadow coming down the right side of a cheek, and then you've got this little tone line going up to the corner of her mouth. And that, putting that tone in, accentuates that highlight that we just pulled off. So again, I'm coming underneath her chin, and just increasing the tone slightly. Just keep looking at your reference and building the tone up. Now I'm resting my left hand on top of my right hand, so that I'm actually kind of pivoting. I'm not using my wrist that's resting on the paper. And it's just a way of freeing up your drawing arm. So now I'm just increasing that tone, coming down there. So now we've got to increase the tone under her nose. And then we've got the shadow coming off her nose over her top lip. Little bit. And then a little bit of shadow right around the corner of her top lip. The edge of her top lip between where her actual lipstick is. Now again, like we've got the shadow coming off the nose, here we've got a shadow line coming off a Mohican. And that goes up. And we need to, again, just darken that tone around the back of her head. And then the same. You just build up the tone slowly. Just keep looking at your reference, and there's no direct particular order that you have to go in. So you can say I'm just increasing some on Barb's ear. The inner part of her ear, which goes into a kind of ear canal. Then we've got the tone right at the bottom, where that's much darker, where it goes under the earring. And then we've got this, we've got the roots at the bottom of Barb's Mohican. Again, I'm using the flat, but then just angling the pencil up and getting some sharper point lines. And this is like anyone who has, like I say, bleach blonde hair. When the hair starts to grow, you see the dark roots underneath. So obviously Barb is naturally a darker haired troll because she's got dark roots at the bottom. So she obviously then dyes it red so that she looks very, very rock-like with a fantastic flash of red, shocking red Mohican hair. Again, I'm just drawing the lines up in the direction of the hair. And I'm just being very loose and impressionistic. But if you want to be absolutely photographic, you will have to spend hours. Even on a troll. Doesn't matter if it's a human or a troll, a cat, a dog, bird, a bee, a flea or a tree. If you want to do something ultra photographic, you will be spending days on the drawing. I'm just showing you the basic techniques that you can then use to develop your drawing. So there you can see we've now got a lot more tone and three-dimensionality in Barb's hair. And it's darker at the front, and there's this kind of lighter patch here. And that's all you do. You just keep looking and building your tone up slowly. Tone on it. Shaved part of her hair. Just building that up slowly. Again, right into the Mohican, coming down to the front. Then we've got that little triangle of tone of a shaved head going off the back. Now, we're filling in the eyebrow. Again, I'm using the flat of the pencil. It's not absolutely black, but it's very dark. And again, we're probably just going to use the 2B pencil. And see, I'm just very carefully filling in Barb's eyebrow. So there's the left eyebrow. Now the right eyebrow is a bit lighter. I'm just carefully filling that in. And then we've got a nostril, it's a darker tone coming right underneath. Then we need to darken the nose even more underneath, but don't go right to the edge. You'll leave that little kind of curved highlight around the edge of the nose. And then between the two eyes, we've got that slightly darker tone, so we can bring that up. And then feather that just up to our eyebrows. And then it's obviously going to go even darker inside our eye. And again, I'm just using this flattened side of the pencil. And that way you get a really soft tone. And you just circle it and feather it. And you're filling the eye in exactly the same way that a makeup stylist would. And that's how I said to you about Ariana Grande. Again, you can see the curve comes past the corner, that little tip there. And that's a makeup of her eyebrow. And then that's literally what I did with the makeup on Ariana Grande. I was filling it in as a makeup stylist would, because they are artists. They are painting on somebody's face with makeup. And then I even started using the brush to actually feather the tones, which was great. So again, I can now see, because I've put those darks in, I can just go over that highlight a little bit just to fill that tone in a little bit there up the side of her head. And then right underneath her eyebrow. And that's looking fantastic. I'm really pleased with this. This is so good. And this is the joy of drawing. You know, it's just a pleasure to do. It's such a joy to actually help everybody with their drawings. And transitioning from Ariana Grande to the rock goddess that is Queen Barb is no different. They are a subject that requires your attention to learn how to draw. So here you can see I'm filling in the shadow now in her right eye, just coming down over her cheek, and I'm making it darker as it goes towards her actual eye. Then we've got to put all of her eyebrows in. Now her right ear, there's a little shadow down there, and then we can just feather the tone in on her right ear. And this is what you do, you just build up the layers very carefully. Now I could have really gone quick like I did do with The Boss Baby and Secret Life of Pets and some of those, but I'm just helping you develop your techniques. Again, just filling that little bit of tone in over her forehead. And you can see her face is really starting to come to life now. And then even her ear. Just need to darken this down because this is in the shadow side. That little bit more. Because imagine the light's coming from this direction. This is why we darken everything down. So you're essentially cross-hatching. Just putting more and more lines over the top. And because of that, you're then increasing the amount of shade that's in these darker areas, as well as the slightly lighter areas. And that's really how simple it is. We need to build up the shade coming down under this chin. And this is what you do with a 2B pencil. You know, I'm doing all of this just using the 2B pencil. It's that versatile. And that's something that you can develop over time just by practicing. And if you just get a sheet of paper and just, like I'm doing now, just keep on shading different areas, building your technique up. You know, so imagine you're watching the television, you're not actually drawing something, whether it's Queen Barb or a person or a cat or a dog or whatever it may well be. You've just got a piece of paper and you practice shading. That is so important. It really, really is. And it's these simple little things that you can do while you're doing something else. And you can then get a page and you can just practice building the shade up, pressing on harder and softer. Try it with a normal pencil, try it with a 2B pencil, try it with a 4B pencil, a 6B, an 8B, try it with a 2H. And this is how you build up and develop your techniques. So you can see now, in 20 odd minutes, we have got a pretty good portrait of Queen Barb, looking rather splendid and fantastic. So now I'm just adding some shade. You've got obviously the cast shadow by her top lip. That comes down over those teeth, and then the top teeth are creating a shadow over the bottom teeth. And then we can got a little shape there of a tooth that we missed off. If we just quickly fill in these little black bits in between the teeth, and then come in and fill on Barb's black lipstick. All of a sudden, now the bottom lip has a highlight, so it's not going to be as dark as the top lip. But you just want that slightly darker tone. You can see I'm using the curve of my hand just to make it simpler. My hand is resting on the page and I'm holding the pencil quite at a length and just using that pivot to actually put that shade in. Then we can put the darker shade right in the corner of her mouth, and then that crease going up to her eye and right on that corner. And that's looking pretty good so far. I hope you're enjoying that. Like I say, her face has really come together, and we're going to do the rest of the body, build that up and then do final details. But that's looking pretty good, and we also need to fill in that earring. So now we're going to quickly, as we've just done all of the face, and the face is the most complex, you can see, because of, you know, all the parts, the eyes, the nose, the teeth, the ear, the earring, everything. Like I say, we've still got to finish that earring. Let's not forget the earring. And the face is the focal point that we all look at. So now, very quickly, coming down and we're filling in Barb's arm. It's going to be much darker. You can see there underneath a neck, it's much darker. And then we've got that little bit of a neck. We just mixed the back of a neck off the outline, and then we've got this shirt, little straggly bits of cotton coming off, shadow lines. then coming down her arm, we've got a slight deeper shadow just there inside, but again, leave that reflected highlight right on the edge. And we can go up and then just sharpen the bottom of a jaw. And you can see that top becomes much more three-dimensional with that shade and that shadow going right the way across. And we've got little tear in the shirt, and then these little kind of rip lines. Then we've got a right arm, and then we've got a hand. So the top here is going to be lighter, but I'm just using the flat of the pencil to fill in the darks. Just keep looking at your reference and just, I mean, you can see I'm just circling quickly. Then you've got, in fact, I'm just going to bring that line of a finger round a little bit more. And then the shadow comes up and creates the knuckles. That knuckle, you come down between the first finger and second finger, and you got the deeper shadow inside, coming to a lighter outside, right dark at the bottom. And then it darkens between the second and third fingers. And then on the top of a hand, you've got a little bit more shading there. We've got the dark right between those two fingers. And then even in between the second and third fingers. And right to the edge of the finger. Where it then comes up the side of a hand, up to the bracelet. Now the same with the fingers up here, just using the soft edge, filling the shade in, darker on the right hand side because that's where the shadow is, the light's coming from this direction. Same with the second finger, leaving a little highlight at the top, filling the kind of triangle in, and then curving the shade round. But then where it goes between the second and third finger, it's darker at the bottom. And then you've got the little finger. Again, dark shadow underneath, light's coming from this direction. We can just fill that in gently, leave the little highlight on the top of the finger showing. And then you've got this little curve of the finger and the shadow as it goes around to where the kind of knuckle would be in the top of the hand. And then we've got much darker underneath. And then that curves up. We need to really accentuate the dark where the hand's next to the guitar. Now again, same with this leg. The guitar, and all down this leg, is casting a shadow right the way down the leg. So we can quickly increase the tone, coming all the way down. And we're just going over the kind of fishnet trousers all the way to the bottom of a foot. Got that crease on the top there. Got a darker shadow where a foot touches the floor. Just fill that in a little bit. And then each of the toes. Circle shadow at the bottom. Big toe. And you're leaving that little bit of highlight on the top. dark where the toes touch the main body of the feet, well, the left foot. We can fill that tone in a little bit. And then we can increase at the back of the heel. Now this is going to give you the three-dimensionality. So you got this line that comes over to where her ankle is going up to a shin. And you've got a slight darker tone inside going up to like where the knee is, but it becomes very dark right the way up underneath the guitar. So I'm just gently, well, I'm pressing on quite hard, but I'm carefully filling that line of tone in, because you've got that dark shadow there, and there's a lighter part here, and then a slight darker tone on the outside of the leg. And there we can fill that in now all the way down. So you can see now we've got a very good shadow coming down the leg underneath the guitar. And it's darker. You know, again, I'm just increasing it that little bit. It's darker at the top because that's where the guitar is covering the top of a leg. And then that comes down to her feet. And we can just quickly, I mean, you can hear how quickly and see how quickly that's actually going. And that's very, very just good technique to do and draw. And that's how I said earlier, just get a piece of paper and do this, just make squiggles. Now her right leg, again, we've got this darker tone on the inside of her right leg. So I'm doing the dark tone coming all the way down, then it kind of curves around, but it's a bit lighter going to the edge of the leg. That kind of reflected highlight. And the darker tone kind of comes to halfway across the leg and then just brightens up. So, and because this pencil's at the very end of its life, I'm trying to use the flat that I've created when I started on Barb's face. So I've got the same tonal qualities on the pencil. And obviously using another 2B pencil I can get it to go flat again. But it's just nice to kind of finish a section with the pencil that you were using. That's just a personal thing that I like doing. But you just develop your techniques, so you have to sharpen your pencil, get a new one. So we've filled in, and that's all you need to do is just develop your technique so that you can just pick up the next pencil and carry on drawing. Now we need to do the shadow on the toes. Remember, the light's coming from this direction, so you need to leave the highlights on the top of the toes. And then it's just a little bit dark where that foot comes down right to the bottom. You've got that little crease line. And there you've now got Barb looking rather fantastic. All of Barb is in, apart from the earring and the guitar. So now, oh, and the bracelets. Just detailing up those toes. We've got a stronger dark coming around the edge of her foot, the front of her toes. And now I'm going to increase the intensity, the blackness of just pressing on really hard her fishnet trousers. I'm just going over the lines that I did earlier. Now you could even go underneath. Again, I'm using the flat of the pencil. Underneath each of the lines. And then I'm on the right hand side of the lines here. And you're just adding a kind of little shadow, because that's what would actually happen. Cast onto the skin by each of the lines of a fishnet trousers. And it may not, you might look at this while I'm doing this thinking there's nothing actually happening, but you can see I'm doing something, and it just adds that little bit of reality that your brain will actually pick up on. So now, because we've got all of this pencil down, I'm using this paper to protect, and I'm going to finish off and do the earring. And you can see here we've got a little curve highlight, so I'm drawing that first highlight, then there's another one there, and then there's another little one there, and then we've got Barb's ear curving round. And so this is metal. Metal reflects what is around it, but you're going to have stronger highlights and very dark points on the metal. So here is, we've got the curve coming round, and I'm doing a nice dark black right at the bottom. This is the darkest point. But then around this highlight we've got some little wiggly dark reflected lines, and then right up in this corner got the same, but then it's not as dark actually around the highlight. So I'm just filling that in, filling in the tones on the earring as they come down and around, and the dark here down at the bottom. I've just filled them in quickly, and then it becomes quite light up here, but we've got very dark right in the entrance to the ear canal on the bottom of her earlobe, underneath the entrance to her ear canal. And so we've got these nice dark lines that give us that three-dimensional curve of the metal. So down here it's all in shadow, so you've got the dark with some darker tone on top, but not pitch black. And then we want the lighter tone that's reflecting the colours and things that are around. Now I've actually just gone over and filled in my highlight bit, but I was doing it lightly, fortunately. So I come in now with my putty rubber. I can pull out those highlights, and then even on the edge at the back, just indicating some lighter tone right on the back of the earring, and just inside a slightly darker tone going up. And that's how easy it is just to fill that earring in. Now that pencil, that's completely gone now. So I'm now going to put this one back. In fact, I can still use that. As it is, it's getting close. It'll be in the pencil extender very shortly. So now I'm going to use the flat of this pencil. I'm going to fill in, again, still a 2B. I've got to be careful. So I am resting my hand on this paper so that I don't smudge Barb's foot. And we're filling in the leather wristbands. Quickly and carefully. And that's a kind of nice mid-tone. But then when it comes around here, it becomes darker. So I'm putting the darker shadows on. And then where it's next to her hand, the edge, we've got that dark shadow line. Going up to the edge. I'm just filling in that tone a little bit. And then underneath each of the studs, got a dark shadow. That goes all the way around. And then these chrome studs, just like the earring, are reflecting what are around them. So you need to leave a little highlight, but you can just see there's like a darker shape underneath at the bottom. And it is just a case of wheeling. I mean, even this one here, you can see it's got reflected orange off the guitar in it. So that's darker at the bottom. And then just putting in some kind of reflected colour there. This side's got a dark reflected part, and then going up over the top, and then just some little squiggle of tone inside. And then the same with the one that's right by the guitar. Just put a couple of little marks in. And then we need to pull up the highlights. So I'm just dabbing a couple of highlights in, just so as the metallic stands out. Now the guitar, the body of the guitar. Oh, hang on. We've got the right wristband. Now this is much darker. So at the bottom we've got the darkest part, and then also where it's right next to the guitar and underneath the neck of the guitar, that's where the darkest shadows are. And then we can just fill in the tone. Little bit lighter. Now this bottom one, most of this side is covered, and the same with this one here. Just draw a little shape, a little circle shape for the highlight right on the top. Fill a good mid-tone in, and then put a dark reflection at the back. It's very quick and simple how you can actually do that, and you need to leave a kind of reflected highlight underneath. Then you can just come back in with your putty rubber, dab the highlights, indicate the reflected highlight underneath. Now we've got the guitar. We've nearly filled all of Barb in, and then it's just final details. So we're going to fill the guitar in, and then it's just final details. So I'm using the flat of the pencil. You see we've got that kind of scored line in there, another one there. The dark coming out from underneath the left arm, coming right down the edge. Now here we've got the side of the guitar is very dark. You can see I'm just pressing on very solidly, and then just lightening off a little bit to fill in that shape. It needs to be really dark right underneath where the left hand is. And then we've got those cracks. And then we can really fill in that shade. That dark that's underneath the left hand, the left arm. And then just fill in the grey on the top. And you can see then allows this little light bit, which is the molten larvae. I'm going to leave that till the end. We've got very dark around the molten larva here. Dark line. Dark inside there. Then coming out from underneath these two fingers, you've got a nice dark patch. And just fill in some of the tone. But don't go over where the molten bit is. And we can draw the dark line around the edge of the molten. And we've got a nice groove down into the body of the guitar. And you've got the dark shadow coming right the way down to this point. Dark shadow on the bottom of that point, and then that goes up to there. And then not as dark, but we've got the edge of the guitar, and we've got a groove coming off that point. And then we can fill in the body of the guitar using the flat of the pencil. And this comes all the way up there. Then we've got lighter tone, this top part of the neck where the light's hitting it. We still need to accentuate the dark next to that molten part and underneath the neck. Increase the shadow underneath the frets. And then if you just look, and you can see where there's like darker squiggles, and you can just see I'm just squiggling and adding. And that gives three-dimensionality and volume to the guitar. Now we've also got here, we've got barbs. In fact, hang on, I'm just to the edge of a shirt. And then there's just some little ellipses. They're a little bit high. They're on a kind of rocker's belt at the top of her hips, but it's very black around, you know, dark around them, and I just fill the tone in. Fill the tone in the shirt. That's looking pretty good. Now that's the form of the guitar. Getting better and more three-dimensional, but we filled all of the tone in, and as you can see there are some highlights. So now, just getting the putty rubber, I'm using the dirty one again, you can indicate some of the highlights on the top of the guitar. And because it's kind of rough smudgy, you get these really nice tones created by the putty rubber. Then just back in with your 2B pencil and go in where the larva is, and you can see there's like the red line. That's what you're indicating with the pencil. And you just indicate those in quickly. And then you've got a highlight up the edge of the guitar there, right up the top there. Now we've got all of the strings and then all of the frets in the headstock. Now at the top of the headstock we've got these little curved shapes, and that's your dark shadow. And then the edge, you've got the same curve coming round to the edge there. You've got the darker shadow, and we can really make the circle centres of the tuning pegs bigger. That makes them stand out. The shadows underneath the tuning peg knobs on the side of the headstock. They need a shadow. And then using the side of your pencil, you can indicate the shadows on the edge. And then you just want to fill in some actual tone on the guitar headstock. We've got the guitar strings, how they come off. And I'm just filling in carefully in between, and the same coming down the actual fretboard. On the top part here, you can see you've got a slightly darker line. And you need to be quick but careful, and you've already got the lines on, so you can actually fill in. And you can accentuate the lines with your pencil quickly, just so as you've got good reference points. But then using the flat side of your pencil, you can just fill in the tone of the fretboard in between each of those pencil lines. And you just go through systematically, filling each little rectangle in. And where it's a bit darker, just indicate that darker line. And that's bar final details, which is what we're going to do next. That's Barb looking pretty good. Just going to sharpen my trusty 2B pencil. And now, as I said, we're now going to do the final details, and this is what's going to pick Barb up. Now you could have kind of left it there, but if you notice, I've not put her eyelashes in or anything like that. So we need to really, around her eye, increase the darkness. Now you can actually feather this using a cotton board or the smudging stick, things like that. Like I say, I use the blending stumps, the paper blending stumps. But as this drawing's gone on, I'm just really pleased how just using the tone has actually developed the drawing. So I'm not going to do any blending, I'm just going to do this as an exercise. Other than that first blending that we did with the kitchen roll to smooth that first layer of tone out, I'm not going to do any blending. So here we're just really building the dark up. And again, I'm doing all of this with one pencil, a 2B pencil. We've got the dark going right up underneath her eyebrow. Carefully extending that dark. Just pressing on lightly. To increase the dark shape coming out past her eyelid or eyelash. Now, so I don't smudge it, I'm going to use this paper again. You can see that we've got 1, 2, going up right into that point, 3, 4 main eyelashes there. Now I'm going to really sharpen up the underneath of Barb's eyebrow. That's the actual definition line there. And we just increase the dark all around her eye. But you can see her eyelashes are actually really thick. So I'm using the flat tip of the pencil, and that's giving me these really nice thick black eyelashes. And coming off from here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm just really darkening next to her eye. And then above you've got the kind of dark crease where your upper eyelid makes that crease that you can see at the top. And that comes right the way round. And then I'm really darkening down next to her eyeball. And then you've got her eyeliner coming right the way round underneath. Again, I'm really pressing on for a pupil. Now, this side of her eyeball is lighter than this side. You've got very gently, I'm just letting the weight of the pencil add the tone, and that's really darkened that up. And already you can see Barb's left eye is lifting off the page now, and that's just given us so much more definition and three-dimensionality. And this is your shadows and your highlights all working together. So now I'm just gently softening the edge of her iris, and then coming back in with the putty rubber and lightening just inside her iris that little bit, really pulling up the highlight on the top, and then just with not a direct point but a softened part, you can hear me just dabbing on her eyeball, and that just gives us a lot more life and three-dimensionality. So now if we do exactly the same on her right eye, so we're doing the kind of eyeliner line all the way around her eyeball, very carefully, just darkening that down right the way round. Then you've got the crease line created by her upper eyelid, and then we can soften out the eyeshadow, making it dark all the way around. And then we want to really increase the shadow there underneath her eyebrow. And here you can see now, and this is where you use your reference points. So you got the ear, which is a reference point. I'm actually going to just quickly remove that construction line so it is just that little bit sharper. And then also we've got a highlight down the side of her eye socket there. Now you can see we've got coming off here, we've got, there's an eyelash, and then we've got another one just underneath and inside, and then there's three more, so you can go 1, 2, 3, and you're actually using the ear as the reference point for Barb's eyelashes. And then you've got 4 at the bottom, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll just fill those in a bit. And then there's 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 up at the top, so you've got the first, second, keep looking, the third, and then there's like a fourth. And then these are going to be really thick, so So I'm using the side of the pencil to do these great thick eyelashes that Barb's got. Just really pressing on. And that just feels lovely. Because you know you've done all the hard work and it's these final details that make it all come alive. So now I'm really filling in the dark of a pupil, pressing on really hard. And then that darker edge around her iris. And then a little bit more shadow on the bridge of her nose, in between her eyes. That looks fantastic. That's just great. So now I can hear that motorbike coming around again. There's the deep exhaust note. They've just gone past the house. That's quite appropriate really for a rock chick drawing. I hope you could hear that one then. That's a single cylinder with a 125 exhaust on. So he's out having some fun, wazzing around merrily. Now we need to pick up these details. So again, like we did with her eyes and her eyelash, underneath the lips we've got this much darker line on the edge of her lip and a lipstick, and then right up into the corners of her mouth. Just give some definition to the top of her lip. And then the darks. Bit more shadow caused by the top lip and the corner of her mouth on that tooth right up that corner. And again, the shape of her teeth is going to create shadows and highlights. Now, coming off her ear, we've got her buzz cut hair, and we just need to indicate a crisper line as that comes up and over. And then again, the bottom part of a Mohican, I'm just twisting the pencil so I'm getting the sharp tip of the point of the pencil. Now there's a little curve there and a little curve there at the back of Barb's hair. Again, just indicating I'm going in the direction of the hair because that's what makes it look real. Now, just darkening that ear a little bit using the flat of the pencil. Now that's looking pretty good. So now these really are kind of the final highlights and details. And you can keep going loads. So again, I'm just pulling a little bit off her nose, top of her mouth, but then you've got her teeth. So I'm just dabbing with the putty rubber to just bring up some of the lighter tones at the bottom of her teeth. Now you can see her teeth have just started to be a little more accentuated off the page. Now, again, just these are, and this is the fun bit of drawing where you get to fiddle and faff And sometimes, I mean, like my paintings can take me a month to do, the oil paintings of motorcycles. And I will spend half a day just sitting there looking at it and just tickling bits, you know. And sometimes I'll even leave the painting overnight. I'll finish it and I'll leave the painting overnight and then just check it the next day to make sure everything's all done and okay. Just pulling up the highlights on the ovals around the tuning pegs. And we've got those little highlight shapes by the nut. So just darkening the strings at the top so you can see those. But that's looking pretty good. This is fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed this because I've had a blast. Highlights on Barb's shirt at the front. This has been such good fun. Because again, just like Ariana Grande or any of the portraits, any of the Harry Potter portraits or anything like that, I'm using exactly the same techniques to draw Queen Barb from Trolls World Tour as I would do with them. And this is how simple it is. So now you can see we've got a darker line there, shadow, but you just got to increase the shadow tones now, because you've got, and this is what I'm saying when I do the tweaks on a painting, as you add more and more on your drawing, you can see where you need to add darker tone, increase the intensity of the darkness, or add highlights. And this is totally just part and parcel of drawing, because as you add more and more tone all over, you see how the changes actually come about in different areas. It's like, oh yeah, that needs to go darker, and then you put in a highlight and it's like, oh, that's really accentuated it and lifted it off the page. So now here we've got the shade again on this side of a face, just needs to be deepened. So I'm using the side of the pencil very, very quickly, and I've filled that area in, and then we're going to come up the side of a head. We've got the shadow coming off from a Mohican and coming all the way down. And we can intensify that cheek, the ear, the dark on a crew cut, and then the side of a cheek, side of her ear. Again, because you're using the flat of the pencil, you can do this really, really quick. And if you squint your eyes, you'll actually see the tones, the shapes of the tones easier. And then you just come back over quickly. Again, the same here, coming down the side of her arm. And then just deepen round a left hand, right hand, middle finger, first finger, and coming down the inside of a leg to the side of a right foot, and then again right underneath the guitar, so we can really darken that tone down. The crease over the top, and then the edge of a foot, and then a toes on a left foot. And that is pretty good. Now, the last couple of things. So even though there's no shadow, just putting that shadow on there makes Barb look like she's actually on stage, because you've got that little bit of shadow. And then I need to do the signature. Billy 2020. Anyway, I really hope you've had a lot of fun drawing Queen Barb. That was absolutely fantastic. It was just good fun showing you exactly the same techniques to develop a drawing from start to finish. I've had a blast. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next drawing. Have a great time and take care. Ta-da.